What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tony Ortiz here, back again with another This Week in Brave Exvius for December 14th, 2022, coming up on the end of the year. And guess what we got? We got my favorite game that they really can collab with in Xenogears. Some of my other favorite games are already Final Fantasy properties, so this is probably my favorite possible collab. We knew that this came out in JP roughly 6 months ago, so I was thinking they probably would hold it though, because they probably wanted to do some more holiday stuff um, until January, which would have probably been the perfect spot for it because people would have had their gift cards and all that. They got us their gifts and all that stuff. And last time our Xenogears, we actually had, this is the second one of the year. If you recall the one we had earlier in this year, it was well, probably, as I've said, the worst collaboration banner that Gumi's ever done, and I would probably put it in the worst banner period that they've ever done. They pulled all the fragments out of that banner. You couldn't buy any. It was pretty awful. It was double premium. And just to go over that really quick, id was dead on arrival. Useless at the time, still is to this day in global, because we'll go over why in a minute. And then Graf was a very good DPS at the time, but he was definitely a very high concern for getting power crept, especially on global, because of at the time we did not have our two-handed variants buff yet, and the passives that work on all of the Xenogears units actually require them to be unarmed for them to work, which is really the worst possible design you could ever think of. If you're doing your damage calculations in the game and you understand that the weapon variance is the big one of the biggest additions to damage that there is, then you'll obviously know that that's just absolutely stupid. Now what's interesting is they fixed it on actual Brave Exvius units that we got. I believe it's Nicolia, and then there's one more. I have him. I don't remember what his name is. So they fixed them on those units so that, well, actually what's funny is I think Nicolia couldn't equip fists at first, and then or is the other unit that couldn't equip their weapon, and then they fixed it like the next week or like 2 weeks. They fixed it eventually. That's the point. So when these came out in JP, people were lukewarm on them because they did need good wind damage. In JP, they did not have Samurai Chizuru like we did, right? So they do now, interestingly enough, which is funny. But she's a different unit. So sometimes global sprites that get used here, um, especially if they are redone units of something that exists in JP, like Chizuru, they will take that sprite and go back towards JP. So if you didn't know that about the Japanese version, that sometimes happens. So I believe they'll probably eventually get our Sakiko back over there, maybe. Or not, no, I'm sorry, not our Sakiko. There might be a couple more, but they'll get like some of those. But they usually will get a redesign because you can't just put the morale unit in JP. There's no morale over there, right? So that's why she's completely different. But her sprites are the same. They reuse those assets. So at the time when they came out in JP, they were looking around at these two units and they're like, all right, Satan's okay. He does decent damage, but he's locked to wind. Ellie's really bad. She doesn't do any damage at all, but she has the wind field. So if the wind DV, you might be taking both of them. It also got buffs. His limit burst got buffed to a point where it was actually usable, and he was a not the best fire finisher by any means, but he was definitely somebody you could bring to content, and he could absolutely do good damage as a finisher for you. And so if you like the unit, you had a reason to use him. So, what's weird is Graf did not get buffs. Graf was power crept here in global like almost immediately because Esther came out right afterwards. So we got literally Chow like the week after that collab, and then like the next month we got Sylvie Esther. I keep saying Sylvie for some reason. We got Esther, and Esther completely invalidated Graf, 100%. Also, Graf has some weird quirks about how his kit works. He kind of needs EX3 Roka or someone else who can cast quick so that he can DPS on turn 2 if you need to do that. Because his main imbuable skill actually is on a cooldown. And if you want to hit 2 turns in a row, you need that quick as well. Or you need to set it up to where he gets it naturally. Then you use it, you quick him, and then you quick him again before you attack on the next turn. You could do 2 turns in a row. So there's like a weird quirky way the way his kit works if you want to do anything but earth damage. He got no buffs, which is weird because if you have a premium unit from the past and they were never really competitive, you'd probably want to look at buffing him, but they just decided not to. They reran them on the same banner that we got, and we knew that without buffs, it was going to stay dead. We knew that if Graf didn't get buffed here, he would stay dead. And then we knew that if Ellie and Satan both did not get, like really big buffs, they would definitely never see use here. And they did decide to buff both units, which is interesting, because usually they don't do that for collabs. They just rely completely on the nostalgia factor and people dumb enough to throw money at an NFT, effectively, of the character they like and then never use it. Satan's buffs were decent enough to where he is theoretically decent as long as you're doing something that's weak to wind. Again, he's still wind locked, so there's not really much you can do about that. Ellie's buff was not damage. It was they added a bunch of LB fill to her main chaining skill. So her kit is really weird. She wants to be using both of her LBs. She needs to keep her field up, and then also she tries to do damage in between, and she's just really bad at doing all those things. The LB fill part kind of fixes the having to keep both LBs active on your opponents to get the most out of, her. The problem is that the damage you get is still, like, absolutely terrible. Like, literally bottom of the barrel. You'll never use her for anything but her wind field. And even then, with the damage calculations we're getting right now, the ones that I've looked over, and I'm not the best math person, but what most people are concurring is that the damage you lose from Ellie herself is about equal or maybe worse than the damage you will gain on the other units in the party doing their wind damage. So even with the buff, since it didn't buff her damage at all, she's pretty much probably going to be a net loss for you in damage on any wind team, which, again, she's locked to. So they really missed a huge opportunity with these units to, do another good collab. It's been really weird. We've had, this is, the 5th collab in, 2.5 months. They just jam-packed everything in, and there's no way for anybody to keep up. I feel really bad for you. If you liked Chrono Cross and Xenogears and Legends of Mana and Nier, you either have to be like an oil prince or you, I don't know, have to have been saving Lapis for the last 3 years straight, because there's no way you could afford to pull in all this stuff and get all the units that are relevant to EX2. It's just not possible. Especially now with the rates, that we've been getting. I know I did pretty okay on 2Bs on my main account. I did the same exact pulling on my alt account, and I did so much worse. And the alt account's never spent money, so it kind of makes you wonder. I mean, I know it's a small sample size. It's not a lot of data. But, confirmation bias to me says, do they push better rates to accounts that tend to buy the Fountain of Lapis or a Crest Pass here and there, or maybe even a $20 or $30 pack once in a while for some frags or whatever? You always have to wonder about that. Does FIFA 22 or 23, whatever they're on now, do they push better pulls to accounts who spend money and reload or put FIFA points on their accounts over and over again? It's always going to be in the back of your mind, right? You can't really trust these gachas at all. And this was a huge opportunity here that I really wish they would have delayed it so that they could make sure they could deliver the upgrades, because if they gave us Id's Crown upgrades, there's no way that he's anywhere near the best fire finisher in Global. You might want to use him in DV for fun. Wind is an element that doesn't have a lot of great support, even on Global. So, if they would have put proper buffs towards Satan and Ellie, you might have had a lot of more people willing to pull. And they could have done it in such a simple way. And I'm going to show you that way later. We'll take a look. But the standard banner here, the one thing that you won't see is that there was a 28k item ticket banner. So it's the new set of gear, the second set, with the 2 shields, the 1 killer materia, and the other stuff. The magic materia that's nowhere near as good as all you can do strength. So I went ahead and did that. Thankfully, this one you only needed 1 lap. So it actually turned out to be a pity on this banner was actually going to be like 2 to 4,000 less. I think this was only 40 or 42 total, and normally if you're looking at 46 is the new pity for a regular unit. So I was lucky enough to grab. I was hoping to grab both on the 28 and just chill. I did get an Ellie on my 28 to the item ticket, which I used to get the item materia because I only got two soaring dragons from Flammy because I never pulled any Flammies on any of the other previous mana banners. So that actually gave me a third 75% killer for a couple of killers that I was a little short on. But I mean, most people won't be short on at this point, especially with all the 12 types available, except for human on global now. And but I mean, I wouldn't have pulled on any banner that had that item ticket if it wasn't for this is it. This is the XG, and the only reason I even did is because I had 100k lapis laying around. Okay, so just put that into perspective, guys. I would not recommend pulling on this banner for anybody, at all, especially next week, or well tomorrow. You're gonna get a chance at a pretty good DPS for lightning, even though you probably already have near units. It's also a premium, but I would highly recommend not pulling on that banner either. However, if you're going to throw tickets to that banner, you might get lucky and get one of these two. You never know. Who knows? I don't even know how it works. I don't know if you throw tickets at that, you're locked out of this, or I don't even know. But there's a potential, way to maybe spike one here or there, or maybe you throw a couple tickets to this and you get lucky. Who knows? It's just disappointing because they didn't fix anybody. We didn't get a new NVA. They could have taken out that opportunity. I don't know why they redid Ellie and Satan instead of even going back to the JP when they did MVA Faye. I thought that was a really good way to handle it. We should have probably gotten a new unit, take the most useless unit and give them the new version. So I think giving Satan the new version was a smart way to go. However, the old Ellie kit was pretty good actually. I remember pulling on that. I remember coming back right when that happened actually, and pulling on that. And she's got a great STMR that we still use because it's 60 to 4 different resists. She had a decent kit. Her kits right now is very similar, except she's kind of locked to win for any damage. But they could have really just taken her and NVA'd her, same sprite and all, and then the chase for Satan would have been easier. I don't know. There's a million different ways they could have handled this better, and they just didn't. And I ranted about it. You got to really feel hard done if you're a Xenogears fan. You've gotten the short end of the stick twice, especially having to deal with the worst banner of all time. When the news came out, I ranted about it. That video is on the channel, so if you want to check that out, you're more than welcome to check that out. I stand by every single thing I said in that video, and then some. I held back quite a bit. It does get a little unfamily friendly, starting in around about a third of the way through. So I do warn you about that. Listen to it with headphones on. Don't listen to it with the kiddos around. But yeah, I'd say I would just defer to that from here. And it's just I'm sad because this is kind of like the turning. This is kind of like the last straw for me in terms of spending money. When I had this 100k and I was staring at it, and I was like, why do I even buy the fountain? Why do I even buy a crest pass occasionally for VIP coins here and there? And it was because I enjoy playing the game. But there's a lot less content these days. They sacrifice so much to work on Clash of Wills. They don't deliver anything else. They don't deliver the COV like they said they were going to deliver. I mean, they announced it 6 months ago and they've added one boss to it. They don't deliver on any other content outside of Clash of Wills. And even then, every Clash of Wills we get, it's bugged. The first week is just a complete crapshoot on if it's going to work properly or not. If you're sacrificing all of this other stuff to put this mode in for us to mess with and use unique units on, and that's great, but it needs to work. And then also it's a way for them to funnel us away from all the units we're actually here to use. We're here to use these collab units and the Final Fantasy mainline story units, and I don't think many people are here to use only Final Fantasy Brave Exvius original units. But that's really what the Clash of Wills has devolved into. And that's unfortunate because it's I think it's a unique mode. It's kind of cool, and I just wish that some units were usable. Now, just before we jump ahead to next week, Cloud is getting a slight buff to his damage based on morale. It's like a passive that they've added, and that makes sense because from the way that it was explained to me, the way that they add things to the game, it's much easier to add something instead of edit something that already exists. which actually, now that I've thought about it a bit, kind of pisses me off more when they skip upgrades or they don't upgrade units at all, because you could just add a passive that fixes every unit every time, and we'd have no issues. And I'll show you that in a minute. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just this is a. I was really hoping that they would do more. I was really hoping they wouldn't skip its buffs so people could actually use him for once. He's one of the coolest looking units in the game, and he's just never been usable in his entire existence. Um, and here we are. You can't. You're better off bringing Faye to do the fights that they've put in for Xenogears 2. So, and then they have Xenogears locked fights so that you have to pull on these terrible banners if you want to complete those. It's absolutely scummy, and I hate the way that they've done business with this. And I'm not spending any more money in the game until this is fixed. Until we get upgrades on time. Until they go back and they fix a lot of these collaboration units, make them relevant for at least Dark Visions. You know, I'm just not spending any more money in the game. And to kind of piggyback off of some of what people have been saying in Reddit, especially since Sunday, is that they can't in good conscience recommend the game to anybody anymore. And I'm in that camp. I had a friend of mine that played this for a while before I played it. And then I got into it for like a little while, and then I left, and then I jumped back in without him, and then he quit his other mobile game, and it was around the anniversary time, and I was like, well, BE's doing a lot of cool stuff for this anniversary. He jumped back in, and it's been a shit show ever since, and I kind of feel responsible for that. Like if he spent $20 here or $20 there, it's like I just took him to the casino and he shot it on, a number, and it didn't hit. So that just doesn't feel good, and part of the reason you do that, you do something irrational like gambling, is because it's fun and it's entertaining. You have a chance of winning, and it's a thrill. Well, there's no chance of getting your money's worth from Gumi right now. It just isn't there. So I'm gonna pull back, and if they decide to shape up, then they'll get my money back in some capacity, whether even if it's just a fountain every month or whatever. And if not, then I'm just gonna take that money and I'm gonna spend it on like indie games, or maybe I'll save up for some DLC for some other games or whatever. I'll put it to better use. So that's my thing. So let's jump on over to the units real quick. We're not gonna talk about the fights; they're pointless. So right away, you pop in here, you see Satan, you see this little passive he gets here. This was boosted up from his equipping his gear. Okay, nothing else really here was changed much. There's just not much here. So now when we jump back over here to his gear form, okay, got all the same stuff and all that. Now take a look at this trait right here. This is the trait that is given to the gear forms of every character. Unarmed attack boost. Okay, 1000%. Losing the variance roll without having a two-handed weapon equipped is so detrimental to your damage output that it makes more sense to equip a weapon on Satan than to take this 1000% boost. And if the difficulty in the game is because of, who knows, that it's easier to add than edit. Okay, well, let's take a look. This passive covers 2,000 or 200% attack, 200% LB boost. So why don't we add an Omega 200 boost or Omega 90? Like the Omega is like the name of the engine, the Omega 100 engine. Why don't we add the Omega 90 engine and just take this exact same thing and put, while equipping a katana or a greatsword, 1000% attack boost. And then we can get to the level of where he would be without this equipped. And then, with a base attack of 13.5k, maybe he could do some fucking damage. Maybe. Potentially. Right? But as of right now, you just can't. So that's all that would have to be done to fix these units. They don't need it. You could even make it a crownable ability. If you wanted to make that ability and try to drain us of crowns and stuff, Let me go ahead and give him a katana here. You can see it goes all the way down to 8.5. He loses 5,000 attack. So even if they wanted to make it crownable, at least you put the option in the player's hands of saying, hey, this unit's usable, you just have to invest in them a little bit. But if you love Xenogears, you can use this unit. And the same goes for Ellie. Even if she had terrible damage in her regular human form, okay. But if you take a look, she has the exact same useless bottom bit on the passive. Why? Why not just fix this? Fix it with another passive. So easy to fix. And if you can edit, all you have to do is come in here and change unarmed to when armed with a rod. That, or when armed with a katana or a greatsword for Satan. You should give Faye, Id, and Graf the ability to equip a fist, which is just a checkbox, basically. And then do the same thing for them. 1,000% increase attack while equipped with a fist. Or equipped with a single weapon. These coatings already exist in the game on other materia. So all you have to do is take that, copy it, pass it onto this unit, add it in, send it off. That's how easy it is to fix this stuff, guys. And they don't do it because they want you to pull on units for nostalgia because you love the game and then not be able to use them to do the content, so you have to pull on other stuff. So you have to pull on the original units you would never even look at if your units did what you wanted them to do in actual content in the game. And to me, that's a business model that people will figure out and sniff out very quickly, and they will reject. The market is bare right now, and this is not the time to be pulling this kind of stuff. But this is the direction that they've gone in, and they are not going to pull out. So, unfortunately, that's where we are with Xenogears. Now, since we did have a live stream on Sunday and I did watch it, I just want to talk about that just a little bit. There's not much to talk about, which is, one of the running jokes, that we've had regarding it for a while now. But I'll just say this. I like Tony and Justin. They seem to be nice people. But I feel like, unfortunately for them, Gumi's kind of throwing them to the wolves. They don't really have the ability to answer questions on the fly. I know that Tony's much more comfortable with the game now. He kind of got brought into a very weird situation in the first place, right? And he's not being asked to he's not being asked to fill that set of shoes or anything, right? However, this community needs more communication. They need somebody that's going to say, okay, look, I know my job is to interface between the community and the development team and all that. But I'm being hired to be more on the side of the community than the development team if I have to pick a side. And if the company doesn't want to employ somebody that, is willing to do that role, then they're fundamentally probably going to be doomed to fail in the first place. Just kind of is what it is on that one. You really can't have a community manager that's on your side. It's like when they hire HR people that just do whatever the company tells them to do. Well, the whole point of having an HR person is to give your people that you're dependent on for your business a voice in the boardroom or in higher end or level activities. And you have to empower those people to be able to actually represent everyone else that needs that representation. And I don't think that these two guys have the ability to take the concerns that the community has and articulate why they're important and why they should be examined by the dev team. I just don't think that they have that ability. And I don't blame them. If you're getting paid to do this job and you think that if you put your neck out there for the community that you'll lose it, I don't blame you for not doing it. But it doesn't make you immune to the criticism that comes along with making that choice. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that I, would like to not do at my job that I do to keep it. However, it doesn't mean that I'm going to sit around and not look for something better where I don't have to put up with that stuff. And you can't be afraid to leave somebody that high and dry, if they don't deliver as an employer, So I'm not going to criticize them any further other than to say that I wish that they would do more, but I understand why they don't do more. And I also understand that if they do everything that they can behind the scenes and then they're just not listened to. I get it, if that's the case. But it wasn't like this previously. And I'll just say that and leave it alone. So we do definitely greatly miss, the community management style that we had before, coming into this year. And yeah, I don't know why you decide to have a live stream and only cover the next week's content when you only do this once a month. There's a big event coming. And they talked about what's coming out next week as opposed to what's coming out the week after, which should be Christmas. Or maybe they'll delay Christmas until after Christmas. I have no idea. Who knows? Because this Final Fantasy VII stuff is a 2-part banner. So, no clue what the plan is there. But we got no information that was really useful. Other than that Cloud was getting a small buff so that he could be taking a Clash of Wills. And their Q&A session was literally one question about something that nobody gives a shit about in the entire community. So it's not a real Q&A. I'm glad they didn't do any kind of like trivia or games. They just handed out the prizes because they handed out the prizes anyway. It elongates the stream. It's annoying. So I'm glad they do that. They did that, but the lack of information. If you do a monthly live stream, we should get a roadmap for the next month. There should be a couple weeks worth of stuff in there. Especially if you're going to do it in November, December, you do it about the big event that month. In February, if they do the live stream in like the first week or two, and they don't talk about what the Chinese New Year banner is going to be, like people would be livid, and that's why they're livid at this if they are, or they're just so disappointed at this point they don't care. And I think apathy is actually worse than anger. If people are mad about your game and talking about it, at least you're getting some PR. But if people just drop off and they're like, screw this, I'm out. That's very difficult to come back from. You can change people's opinion who strongly dislike your product by making it better. But if they forget your product even exists, it doesn't matter how good you make it. If they don't know to come back and try it later. So I don't know what the point of the live stream is, if it's to not deliver us any information about what's coming. And talking about stuff 2 days before we're going to get all the information anyway, and not giving relevant information like the actual numbers, in a slide so we know that it's actually accurate as opposed to just reading it. I think it's just it's lazy, and it shows that they don't care about the community. So yeah, I mean, in conclusion, I would say that I think that the state that the global game is in is that Gumi is just doing as little work as possible. I don't think they have more than 2 or 3 coders maybe, and maybe 1 or 2 QA people working on the game. That's why Clash of Wills is still bugged every time we get a new one. That's why they skip so much of the upgrades and everything. They just want, and they're trying to just squeeze as much money out of the stone as they can. So they're just trying to sell you every nostalgia unit they can without touching it, so that you still have to buy the other units if you want to play. And then they're just riding this out until the game eventually ends service. I thought the game would be in maintenance mode before next anniversary if things didn't turn around. Like if things don't go up from near, I was thinking if they have a good holiday season, and like all these Final Fantasy VII gets buffed, and then like leader skills come out and that shit's buffed to the moon, and people are actually able to start taking Sephiroth into Dark Visions and shit like that. then like things are turning around. They could have a strong February. They could they could do they could have a strong Easter. Easter's an easy one to do in this game because people love Esther and Sylvie. The developers' popularity poll too. It just shows you how they just don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. Like there's like 12 units in there that already have a regular 7-star version, and then they have an NV version that's relevant or was relevant for a long time. Sky, Esther, and Sylvie are all in there. Instead of taking a unit that they've never touched in years and doing something new and unique. It's like it's a fucking joke. So the game is already in maintenance mode. I just didn't have all the dots to connect on the conspiracy theory map, from the Always Sunny meme, and I just didn't have all, and I have them now. It took forever to get Nier because they don't have enough people working on the game. I don't know why you release Nier so close to the holidays, and then try to and then put full effort into a holiday banner. People are gonna be tapped out. I think the reason that they announced Nier an anniversary and then waited until November is because they couldn't get it coded all correctly. They couldn't get everything designed and entered in and the art done and all that. They couldn't get it all done quick enough. I would have suspected that would have been September or October's Clash Wheels if you announce it in June. And the game's already in maintenance mode. So there it is, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. Except for stop spending your money now because it's not going to go very far. If the game is still actively being updated on a weekly basis with new units on global side, by anniversary 8, I would be very, very, very surprised. I think anniversary 8 maybe we'll have some decent stuff, but it will be the last major content update for the game, and everything else will just completely fall off from there for about a year or so. They'll do like new units, but they'll just be shoveling them out. There won't be any touches to them at all. And I don't know how strong JP is financially. I'd have to look at the numbers. I don't know if there's any way to get a hold of those without being a Square Enix shareholder. Probably isn't. And I'm not investing in them anytime soon. So, yeah, game's in maintenance mode, folks. It's a sad state. We'll see you next week.